Alright, today we're going to learn more about lines and angles. Our first term is parallel lines. This is two or more lines that lie on the same plane that do not intersect. So if I make a line like the first one, I can copy and paste it. Now these two lines are parallel because if they continue in both directions forever, they'll never hit each other. We show two lines are parallel by making an arrow going in the same direction on both. Now if we named this one L and this one K, we could also say L is parallel to K. So if you ever see two lines like this, that means is parallel to. Perpendicular lines are two lines that intersect at 90 degrees. So if I take this line, go it that way, ooh, what is going on? These are not perpendicular. Let's try to make this perpendicular. Alright, that's perpendicular. And if they're perpendicular, they'll meet at 90 degrees, and we'll denote that with a little box. So if we have K and J, if I want to say these two lines are perpendicular, we do that with an upside down capital P. That means is perpendicular. Two lines are skew lines in different planes, or two lines in different planes that do not intersect. One example would be if a line was going all the way back and all the way towards you. Now it's kind of hard to see this, but imagine that this line in space, this line is going all the way straight back, this one's coming straight towards you. Now if I have another line that instead of doing that is just going up, oops, that's not up, up and down. We'll just assume that's up and down. Now, it's difficult to understand this just by looking at the drawing. If you have the sound off, this is not going to make any sense at all. If this line continues to go back and forth, and this line right here continues to go up and down, then these two lines will never hit, but they're not parallel, and they do not intersect. A pair of complementary angles are two angles whose measures have a sum of 90 degrees. So if I take an angle and say this is 50 degrees, I take another angle over here and say this is 40 degrees. Since those two add up to 90, those would be complementary angles. A pair of supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180. So say I have one like this, and say this is 140, and then another one like this, this is 40. These two would be supplementary because they add up to 180. Now vertical angles and linear pair of angles. If we have vertical angles are two angles that are across from each other. So if I have angle 1 and angle 2, I can say angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. Now if I make that same drawing down here, a linear pair of angles are two angles that are right next to each other. So let's call this 3 and 4. So angles 3 and angle 4 will be a linear pair of angles because they're next to each other. These two would be linear pair, these two would be linear pair, and those two. Also with vertical angles, these top and bottom would also be vertical. So vertical are across from each other, linear pair are right next to each other. Now if we look at this one, the first question says, what is the vertical angle NEL? So let's trace this out. NEL. So if this was angle 1, the vertical would be this one over here, which we could say IEO or OEI. I'm going to go for angle IEO. This next one says, what is the angle vertical to OEI? OEI, well that's the same thing as IEO. So you could say NEL. What's the supplementary angle to LEI? So let's do that in green. LEI is here. Supplementary are two angles that add up to 180. So if I can clean this out, that would be these two, because these are linear pair, and that's halfway around the circle. So these two would add up to 180. So LEI and IEO would be supplementary. They'd also be a linear pair. So if we ask what is the complement of 42, complementary angles add up to 90. So just take 90 minus 42, and you should get 48. So 48 degrees would be complementary to 42. If we ask what is the supplement of 92, supplementary angles add up to 180. Subtract 92, and you should get 88. So 88 degrees would be supplement of 92. Now, which one would be parallel with AC? The only one that looks parallel with AC is this one right here, which looks like it's VE. Oh, my writing's not the best today. And this pop-up keeps coming up. That's VE. Which line is perpendicular to AC? The only one perpendicular looks like DF. That looks like that could be 90 degrees down there. So DF. Which are linear pairs with AEC. So AEC is here. Now linear pairs are the ones right next to it. So we could say angle CEB. Or we could do this one down here, which would be AEB. So both these are linear pairs with AEC. Alright, that's the end of today's lesson.